Good afternoon, Jets Nation. Welcome to the Jew Jets Show. Last night, the Jets lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 23-20. So here's the good and the bad from last night's loss. Starting off on the offensive side of things, what we saw from Zach Wilson last night was fantastic. It was without a doubt the best game he's ever played. He completed 28 of his 39 passes for 245 yards and 2 touchdowns last night. Had a passer rating of 105.2, a QBR 65.9. Zach Wilson balled out yesterday. His passes were accurate. His decisions were decisive. He rarely missed an open receiver last night. The Zach Wilson we saw in week 3 compared to the Zach Wilson we saw this week was just complete night and day. And a big reason to why I think we saw Zach Wilson have the best game of his career yesterday starts with the game plan the Jets had. I mean, this season, whenever Zach Wilson would have his success, it would come on high-tempo plays where we would just let Zach Wilson sling it, where we would let Zach Wilson cook and not really have to use his brain all that much. And that's exactly what we saw from the Jets yesterday. We gave Zach Wilson a lot of play action. We gave Zach Wilson a lot of open receivers out the jump to where he can just hit them. We gave Zach Wilson all those high-tempo plays where he could just cook and he could sling it, and we saw the effects it had. So big kudos to Nathaniel Hackett for his game plan yesterday. It was really the most comfortable Zach Wilson has looked ever in the NFL. Also got to give a big shout out to the offensive line. This new offensive line group we're rolling with has been really good. They've been playing like a top 15 unit in the NFL these past 2 weeks, and whenever Dwayne Brown comes off of IR, you don't need to reactivate him, because the way this offensive line has been playing has been really good and a lot better than what we saw from the past 2 weeks of the season. So big shout out to our offensive line last night as well. The run game was alright. 16 carries, 108 yards, average 6.8 yards attempt. Breece Hall led the team in carries with 6. Breece Hall should never have less than 10 carries in the game. I've already said that before, but I also understand why the Jets didn't run it a whole lot last night, just because it felt wrong to take the ball out of Zach Wilson's hands. But the carries that went to Dalvin Cook should have went to Breece Hall, or at least Michael Carter, because Dalvin Cook was terrible last night. 5 carries, 16 yards, 3.2 yards an attempt. He wasn't good, and he hasn't been good this entire season. So, in the future, Dalvin Cook needs to be less involved. Breece Hall needs to be more involved. Same thing with Michael Carter. I really think this dude could be the next Bilal Powell. I've been saying it for a minute. I mean, coming out of college, a lot of people were comparing him to Bilal Powell. If you can just give this dude 5 carries a game, give him a couple targets, I mean, he could very easily have over 50 yards. Michael Carter just has that explosiveness, that juice about him. So this Jets run game wasn't the best last night, but, you know, Zach Wilson balling out and Dalvin Cook getting a lot of carries definitely has to pay dividends for that. But if you can just get Breece Hall more than 10 carries in the future, get Michael Carter more involved running the football, you're going to see a lot more success. But overall, I thought it was a great performance from our offense last night, the best they've looked all season. Defensively, I thought the Jets played a good game last night. I mean, they weren't perfect. The run defense wasn't the best. They ran the ball 35 times for 204 yards and a touchdown last night. Isaiah Pacheco had himself a game. 20 carries for 115 yards. He had that 1 touchdown for the Chiefs. We also couldn't contain the quarterback scramble at all last night. Patrick Mahomes had 7 carries for 51 yards, including a bunch of key third down conversions that he had running the football. So the run defense definitely was one of the main reasons to why the Jets lost last night, but you still can't be mad at how the defense played in last night's loss. I mean, yeah, they allowed 17 straight points for the Chiefs in the first quarter, but they were to make a lot of adjustments after that. Heading into the second quarter, Kansas City only scored 3 points, 0 in the third quarter and 3 in the fourth quarter. Kansas City Chiefs had 6 points in the last 3 quarters of the game combined. That's an impressive feat for the Jets defense. The adjustments they were able to make were amazing. We also were able to hold the passing attack for Kansas City, which is the best in the league, in check. Mahomes completed 18 of his 30 passes for 203 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. The 203 yards passing is the 9th least he's had in a game ever. And I also bet that Mahomes barely finishes a game with more interceptions than touchdowns. The Jets were able to contain that Chiefs passing attack last night, so a huge shout out goes to that Jets secondary. And all the concerns that people had over this defense over the first few weeks of the season, I definitely feel like have been put to rest rest because the way this defense has played the past 2 weeks has been really impressive and has put the Jets in position to win football games. It's just a couple things happened on offense in this game that weren't the best. Of course, the fumble by Zach Wilson with 7 minutes left in the game was killer, but also at the same time, Zach Wilson, who was taking blame for the loss, shouldn't have taken blame. I mean, the way he played last night was the reason to why the Jets were in this game. We finally saw him look like an NFL quarterback, and that was huge. A huge step in the right direction for Zach Wilson. Fumble did kill us, but the way he performed tonight definitely gets him a pass for that. Greg Zuerlein also missed a 51-yard field goal. If he would have made that field goal, would have been a tied game for the New York Jets. So, you know, there's a lot of missed opportunities for us last night, but nonetheless, thought it was a good game. The fact that we were able to come back from a 17-0 lead in the first quarter and almost beat the reigning Super Bowl champions is an impressive feat in itself and gives me a lot of faith for the rest of the season. You know, my optimism is definitely back up. Next week, we play the Denver Broncos, who are sitting at the same record as us. So, stay tuned for the rest of the week on more videos on that game. But I'm your host, Juliet, signing off for now. What are your thoughts on last night's game? Comment them down below. And I'm your host, Juliet, signing off for now. See you guys later. Peace.